We're good? All right. 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Public Square. Ben Axelrod, Nick Camino, come to you live from Rock the Draft, Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns celebrating the announcement that the Browns have been awarded, that Cleveland has been awarded the 2021 draft. We're going to have lots of speakers. Jim Donovan, the voice of the Browns, and WKYC Zone will be emceeing the event. Denzel Ward, Joshua Cribbs, John Dorsey, J.W. Johnson, Mayor Frank Jackson. This is going to be quite the ordeal, and it's open to the public down here right in the center of downtown.
Yeah, Ben, I think it's a celebration. I mean, it's a party. That's the kind of atmosphere that we have here today. Food trucks, a lot of food on display. They even got some complimentary beer. That could always get fun. But, there's a lot of people here. There's a buzz, and rightfully so. I think hosting a draft has become such a big deal. We saw it in Chicago. We saw it in Philadelphia. We saw it in Nashville this past year. 600,000 people.
Yeah.
The economic impact, over $100 million. I mean, this is something that Cleveland should be proud of. Everything that went into this, not only the Browns, but the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission with David Gilbert. It's really cool to be here today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you think about, having the draft, and on paper maybe to the average sports fan, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. It's not a Super Bowl. It's not a Final Four. But this is like a huge, huge event. This is, I saw David Gilbert said on 92.3 The Fan here in town today, this is the biggest event Cleveland could host without a dome stadium. So the NFL is king. The NFL is the number one sports league in all the world, and to be the center of the sports world for not just one, but for 3 days during a time where, basketball's over, or at least heading into the NBA playoffs, March Madness is over. This is a big deal, and to your point, the economic impact of all this is massive.
Yeah, and I think when you're watching at home, if you're in a different city, maybe not a big deal, but here in Cleveland, it is a big deal. You talk about the economic impact. You talk about the people that will be here for it. It's going to be a lot of fun those 3 days, as you said, and to see the magnitude of how the draft has even grown. The draft has always been big, but Ben, you and I remember when it was just held on a Saturday.
Oh, sure.
I mean, now it's a primetime event, Thursday night, even Friday night. The second and third rounds have become big, and people watch throughout the weekend. So to be able to have Cleveland on display during that, it's pretty awesome. It's something we should all be proud of.
And it's something that, you mentioned Nashville. Those shots this year were incredible. I remember Philadelphia 2 years ago, I believe. The whole city just kind of filling into a public space. And I mean, we know what this city is capable of when it comes to sports, when it comes to sports celebrations. And for as much as, went into the Cavs parade and as hot as the Indians have been the last few years, this is a Browns town. And to have an opportunity to celebrate football in that capacity, and a lot can change over the next 2 years, but at a time where it looks like the Browns are going to be pretty good, it's going to be really interesting to see what this looks like here 2 years from now.
Yeah, and I think ultimately this is something that the city has shown they can handle. Ben, we won't get political, but we remember when the RNC was coming to Cleveland. Cleveland was at the epicenter of the world. I mean, all eyes were on Cleveland, and through the Cleveland police and everybody, they just did such a fantastic job hosting that type of event. You talk about the Indians, the championship parade, Cavs finals games, World Series games when the Cubs were in town. Those are big, big events. This is probably even bigger, but I think Cleveland has shown leading up to this, we can handle this sort of thing, and I think it's why Cleveland was ultimately picked.
Yeah, and I think that you mentioned the RNC. I think the RNC, coupled with that Cavs run in the late 2010s, those 4 LeBron years, the second time around, were such a watershed time for this city, because it really showed you what this city is capable of when it comes to hosting big events. And I don't think it's a coincidence. You look at the calendar, this summer we have the MLB All-Star Game. Not just the MLB All-Star Game, the All-Star Week. Yeah. It's really become more than that.
That's another event that's become like a 3-4 day thing.
Next year you have NCAA tournament games. The year after that, you'll have the draft, and you'll also have the NBA All-Star Game not too long after that. This is really like a 4-year run of just big events in the city. And I think to your point, it all started with the RNC back in 2016.
Yeah, and I think if you show you can do it multiple times, they're going to go back to you. You want to make sure these things don't go off without a hitch. There's a lot of technical things that go into it. There's a lot of people that are involved. Yeah. There's national folks that are in town. Can the city handle it? It's funny you brought up Nashville, which I think is a tremendous town. If you've ever been there, it's a great time.
City.
But I feel like the views that you mentioned in Cleveland, I think those could be even better. You've got the lakefront, you've got the skyline that's right behind us. I mean, this is an incredible city, and I think now it'll be on the national stage once again, and I think Cleveland will deliver.
You mentioned the location. We still don't have an official location.
I was going to
for
ask
the
you about
draft.
that.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some answers here later today. We know it's going to be in Cleveland. Where in Cleveland remains to be seen. We do know, based on the press release, it's going to be in the downtown area, and sounds like probably closer to the stadium rather than down here in Public Square. But when you talk about hosting a draft, what makes sense to you? Where could you kind of see that big stage being set up in the middle of Cleveland?
Well, what I have heard too is the NFL, they want to have a nice sight line to it.
Yeah.
And I think in some way, I don't know how this would be possible because there's not that much room where I'm about to tell you, but right near the Rock Hall. The problem is, even though that's a great view, even if you have the stadium in the views in the landscape too, I just wonder about where you put all those people. So I think they've got a lot of things to juggle.
Yeah.
Those are probably some of the things they're going through. Obviously, you're going to have it downtown. It's just where is it going to be? And while I think the Rock Hall would be great to incorporate that in the city views, I know Burke Lakefront was even tossed out there, which doesn't get used all that much. We've had fun with that over the years, and that would seem like it would be the perfect space because it's on the water. But do you want to incorporate, the Rock Hall? Do you want to incorporate First Energy Stadium?
Yeah.
I think those are things that go into that.
And I think that's something you could kind of do throughout the draft. Maybe you have a big stage, maybe in that mall where the Cavs wrapped up their parade back in 2016, and that's kind of your home base. But you could make a pick from the Rock Hall. You could make a pick from First Energy Stadium. I think
satellite locations.
Yeah, I think there's really no
even
limits.
Right here.
Yeah, the Jack Casino. I mean, there's no limits.
We'll be
Tower
over there.
City.
We'll be at the Jack.
The champs at Tower City. There's no limits to where you could make picks from and have satellite picks made, and you mentioned the Rock Hall, you mentioned First Energy Stadium, even Burke Lakefront. I think there's a plethora of places you could really touch on throughout those 3 days, especially in the later rounds where you're really just kind of having fun and getting this thing wrapped up.
Absolutely. I think that ultimately it's going to come down to different variables of people, best view lines, what makes the most sense, and they'll figure it out. They've landed this, and I think the people at the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, if they have a hand in it, David Gilbert and his people do a great job with all of that. So we'll be getting started soon, right? 3 o'clock?
Yeah, 3 o'clock. We're going to be getting started here. Jim Donovan, the voice of the Browns, WKYC Zone, he'll be emceeing the event. John Dorsey, J.W. Johnson, Joshua Cribbs, Denzel Ward, they're all kind of floating around throughout here. And, there's actually, you look at, can't show you right now, but almost looks like the Muni lot with the amount of brown and orange buses that we have parked here on the street. And it should be a decent crowd here. I think we've got some free food. So, this should be quite the event, and it's going to be interesting to see kind of how this all comes together. When we talk about this press conference, though, what are you interested in learning? What are you interested in seeing?
I am interested to hear from a guy like John Dorsey, just, how proud the team is to host something like this. I mean, and I know, and people watching at home or at work, The draft is the lifeblood of your franchise, and it's something that finally the Browns seem to be understanding and getting, and they've got the right people in place to do that. To be able to host such a great event that is, so big with college football, you and I know we love college football, and to be able to bring that now to the NFL and just to have those two meshing on a weekend, it'll be cool to hear from John Dorsey and what he thinks, because we know he's a firm believer in the draft. We know he's a big firm believer in talent evaluation. Well, that's what you're hosting. You're hosting that event, and it'll be great to have those players on stage and in Cleveland and to have everybody a part of that. So I'm interested to hear the Browns' standpoint on it, because it is such an NFL event, and now Cleveland's hosting it. But to hear what the Browns have to say and how that impacts it will be cool. I
do think it's pretty telling as far as the state of the Browns that they can host an event like this and trot out their general manager and know that he has like a 99% approval rating. Like, when was the last? When could they have ever done this before? I mean, we know they've been trying for the draft for a few years now, and some of the bids with Canton were unsuccessful. But you're going to trot Sashi Brown out here? You're going to trot George Kokinis out here? Like, this is really, the perfect time for the Browns to land this thing. A couple of months after trading for Odell Beckham Jr., a year after the emergence of Baker Mayfield. This is kind of a continued celebration of a time where people feel pretty positive about the Browns, which isn't something we've been able to say much in the last 20 years.
You're spot on. Who would you trot out there in other years? Oh my gosh, you brought up some of the names that just made me crack up. John Dorsey, everything he has touched since he has come here has pretty much seemed to turn to gold. I've been saying he's on a 14-month, 15-month heater, and it's been true. Whether it's the draft, whether it's free agency, whether it's getting rid of certain players, bringing guys in, and obviously what they've done on the field has been tremendous. So, this seems like it's the perfect time for Cleveland. The amazing thing, Ben, is that over the years, this has almost been Cleveland's Super Bowl, the NFL draft. When this thing comes around in 2021, we're hopeful that the Browns, if not in the playoffs, are surely knocking on the door to do something pretty special. And it's ironic that in a year where we might host what was formerly known as Cleveland Super Bowl, that this will be the event that maybe the Browns are picking 20th or 25th or something crazy like that, or maybe last.
20th, people would be losing their jobs around it. John Dorsey won't be around if they're picking 20th in 2 years. Yeah, I mean, maybe that was one of the appealing things, right, is that they'll have a big crowd because all the Cleveland fans will be sticking around until pick 32.
Yes.
Because that's where the Browns will be picking.
I hope so. I hope, you know what, you're optimistic, and that's a beautiful thing. So maybe that goes into it. But it's just funny on an event that it seemed to be our Super Bowl for so long. Maybe finally it won't feel that way, and we're just adding a couple players like we see teams do it that are all set up.
You mentioned college football, so I want to go there.
Okay. You've got this thing already set up,
I did a story on WKYC.com yesterday about which players might be getting picked.
Okay, so top 5, you had it, right?
I have a top 5 for the 2021 draft already.
Okay.
And, I mean, the funny
thing... This
thing...
doesn't surprise me,
Well,
by
the funny thing about it is when I kind of pitched the story, it was kind of tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
But the way college football is evolving, where these high-profile programs like Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia are getting their freshmen on the field, the players who will be eligible in the 2021 draft were the players who were freshmen last year in the 2018 season. We can already kind of shape up at least who's on the radar for 2021. So you follow college football as closer than I do. Any names stand out to you? Because I can give you my top 5 already.
Listen, the one that we talked about in our morning meeting a little bit was Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, who I think at that point, by the time 2021 comes around, he will be the name. And he will, if not be the number 1 pick, a top 2 pick for sure, with a team that will need a franchise-changing quarterback. He's the guy who we've talked a lot about on end. There's not many other names right now that are coming to me. I know you mentioned Justin Fields. I don't know what his NFL draft stock would be, but a guy like Lawrence, for sure, from Clemson, Ben, they're already talking about if he would have come out this year, he would have been, one of the top picks.
I mean, it was actually, I knew he was good and obviously, followed him throughout the college football playoff, but Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 recruit in the nation, went into Clemson, knocked off their starting quarterback, Kelly Bryant.
He had to transfer to Missouri.
Yeah, who was an established starter at Clemson, threw 30 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions, is 6'6", 225 pounds already. I mean, he has an NFL body. He's going to be as high of a ranked quarterback since Andrew Luck, since Peyton Manning. I mean, as high as those guys, if he stays on this current trajectory, and a lot can change in these next few years. Justin Fields was the number 2 ranked quarterback heading into the 2018 season. He played in spot duty at Georgia, but transferred to Ohio State, has immediate eligibility, and is going to be playing in Ryan Day's system, which obviously turned Dwayne Haskins into a first-round pick in just 1 year. So those are kind of the 2 quarterbacks who stand out in this class. Also, JT Daniels at USC is kind of in the mix there, too. Patrick Surtain Jr., Patrick Surtain II at Alabama. He got on the field as a true freshman last year, the son of Pro Bowl quarterback Patrick Surtain.
That's right.
He's in the mix.
So Tagovailoa will be gone.
He'll presumably be in next year's draft.
Right. That's right.
If he comes out early. Justin Ross, the wide receiver at Clemson, who had a breakout game in the National College title game. He's in the mix. Micah Parsons, a linebacker at Penn State.
Look at this. I like this.
I've
2021 draft.
The 2021. I mean, I'm kind of saying it tongue in cheek, but
now that you're mentioning those guys, those are some good prospects you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, those were all 5-star guys who played right away at big time programs. But in all seriousness, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be the face of this draft, and this could be a big time draft when Cleveland is hosting it here in 2021.
And now I'm trying to think of who will be maybe picking in those spots. Is it the Dolphins? Is it the Bills? We hope and pray it won't be Cleveland, so we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, Lawrence is a guy, you mentioned 2 names that he's been talked about with, Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning. Those are the names that he's being compared to already, and he's still got 2 more years there. So it's incredible, and it was funny. Dabo Swinney caught a lot of heat when that kind of went down. How do you get rid of Kelly Bryant? Took us to a national title game. Well, this is a guy who went and won a national title, and that was pretty much the only thing that he could do that would make Dabo look good, and he's just created such a machine down there. So it's been fun to see that play out, and it'll be fun to see that play out here in Cleveland now.
Yeah, no doubt, and fortunately, you would think the Browns will not be in a position where they need a franchise quarterback 2 years down the line with the way that Baker Mayfield
I would
is
hope
progressing.
and pray that's the case. If we're talking Trevor Lawrence to Cleveland by then,
Yeah.
we got major problems.
That would be an issue. I don't think that will happen, but you look throughout the crowd
Now
here.
this is filling in.
Yeah, it's filling in. You see some Baker Mayfield jerseys. And, you see the Cleveland, that script Cleveland branding. I mean, this is a very, for as much as the Browns put into this and the Browns played, a primary role in this bid, this is a big day for Cleveland. This is a big day for Destination Cleveland and the Greater Sports Commission. And I think that's what you're seeing out here is really, a celebration of Cleveland and landing an event like the NFL Draft.
Yeah, it's a celebration. It's a party, and I'm glad you mentioned that. We talk about the impact the Browns have, but certainly Destination Cleveland, the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission with David Gilbert and his folks that do a great job. Bring all those events you talked about, Ben. The MLB All-Star Game, March Madness, the Women's Final Four, NBA All-Star Game. All of those events, they have handprints from the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, and they do a great job bringing those events here to Cleveland. Without them, I don't know that it would be possible. So it's great to see all those 3, maybe 4 organizations, even the city of Cleveland. We see Mayor Frank Jackson here too, Armin Budic, to have those people here too. That shows that when you put everybody together, when everyone's working together, you can pull stuff off like this.
Well, people talk so much about, when LeBron left the second time last summer when he left for the Lakers, what's going to happen to Cleveland? How are these businesses going to survive? And I know there are businesses that are hurting from not getting, the revenue they had become accustomed to when it comes to the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals. But to me, that's not really a sustainable model as far as relying on one guy, relying on one player. I think what is sustainable, though, is the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, Destination Cleveland, their ability to attract these destination events. And that's, we mentioned the MLB All-Star Game, the NBA All-Star Game, the Women's Final Four, the NCAA, the men's tournament. We had the Wrestling National Championships earlier this year or last
Big
year.
one.
They can bring in these big events. And I don't know if you could have said that 10 years ago, but when you look toward the 2020s, half the decade's already booked up as far as big events.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, with these athletes, as much as we grow to love them and we root for them, they do come and go a little bit. And what doesn't come and go is the city. It's going to be here. The Greater Cleveland Sports Commission is going to be here. Destination Cleveland's going to be here. The Cleveland Browns are going to be here. And we always, threw this out there, root for the name on the front of the jersey, not the back. And part of this is the reason why. This doesn't have anything to do with one player. This is a city. These are organizations that are going to be here. And to see it all come together is really neat. A party here today, right here on the square.
What? As far as just
we're getting closer.
This event, it looks like we're getting a little bit closer. We talked about what you want to hear or what you're interested in hearing. Who are you interested in hearing from? Who?
I think John Dorsey's going to be who I want to hear from. I know the mayor will. They'll have their economic spin on it and stuff, and that's all good for the city.
The economic spin, though, is huge because Nashville actually just came out with their numbers, and it was $133 million economic impact.
Well, that's the biggest reason.
Right, which is saying something when you consider that Nashville is traditionally a tourist destination and all that. Cleveland maybe doesn't have that working in its favor, but when you talk about the economic impact, $133 million is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's not. And you know what? You think of all the places that has hosted the NFL draft. You think about Chicago, Philly, Dallas, and Nashville this year. It seems like every year the amount of money goes up. And so hopefully you're bringing that revenue to Cleveland to help build this. And, maybe you can host events like this in the future if it goes off without a hitch, which I think Cleveland has shown time and time again they can do.
You, like me, you have an affinity for a certain city out in Nevada.
We like to look at those things.
Las Vegas will be hosting the draft next year in 2020. I think officially it's Paradise, Nevada, but for all intents and purposes, it's to coincide with the Raiders' move to Las Vegas.
I think we need to go to make sure everything goes well.
I don't know how else we could do it. I don't know what better learning experience we could have than going out to the draft in Las Vegas. And
we'll take the Vegas trip. And then we'll be back in about a week.
Twist my arm, I guess. But that's going to be an interesting act to follow, Las Vegas.
It will be. But I think, like in Nashville and like in Chicago and like in Philly, you can learn from what they did well and maybe what didn't go so well. I know the Indians have looked at different things that have worked well at MLB All-Star games before them. And there's going to be the host city after Cleveland for the MLB All-Star game that'll look at Cleveland and say, all right, what goes well? What went well in Cleveland, and what can we bring to our city? I think you'll see that here. Cleveland representatives are going to go to Las Vegas, and they're going to say what worked, what didn't work. let's make sure it's the best event ever. And I think if you can learn and grow from those things, you're in a good spot.
Well, I think the All-Star Game comparison is actually probably a good comparison for the draft, because the NFL has the Pro Bowl, but that kind of rotates from Orlando.
Is that still being played?
Allegedly. You can bet on it. That's how I know.
There we go.
Orlando, San Diego, Hawaii sometimes. Hello.
How we doing?
But so the NFL doesn't have a traditional All-Star Game that travels from city to city, but
Yes.
it has kind of done that with the draft now. And I think what's cool about it, like the NBA All-Star Game, you might go to Houston one year, you might come to Cleveland. It gives you kind of a different flavor for each NFL city, and the experience you're going to get in Cleveland, suffice to say, is going to be a little different than the experience you're going to get out in Las Vegas next year.
No, I would liken it to the MLB All-Star Game. I think that's a good point by you. Think about this too, what you mentioned earlier, the multiple days.
Yeah.
I mean, at the MLB All-Star Game, you got the Futures game on Sunday, Monday the Derby, Tuesday's the game. You'll still have festivities on Wednesday. Celebrity softball game, which you're taking part in, I heard. So we're,
waiting on my invite.
This is, I feel like you're right. It is a great comparison, the All-Star Game to this. This has kind of become that for the NFL. And boy, the NFL draft, I just feel like, I know we mentioned it earlier, it has become such a monster, Ben. I remember the days sitting at home, it would start at noon, 15 minutes between the picks, and it took all day. And I mean, this has become a prime time event. Even Friday, Ben. Friday, the second and third rounds feel bigger than the first round used to feel back on Saturdays. That's what it's become. It's become a monster.
Yeah, that Friday night with the second and third round, and you have a whole day of not only looking back at what happened in the first round, but projecting ahead to who's left and who has these picks.
Think about Cleveland. Okay, so they said 55% of the people that were in Nashville were from out of town.
Yeah.
Think about all the people that are going to be hanging here, like Friday during the day, going out to restaurants, the revenue thing, and just waiting for the draft to get started. That all goes into it, and that's the part I'm excited about, too.
Well, it's interesting, too, because Cleveland is such a football town just by nature, but because of the Browns and how they've performed or haven't performed over the course of the last 20 years, we've really gotten, locked into the draft. It was our Super Bowl. And even though the Browns seem to be on an upswing, I don't think anybody's really lost that affinity for the draft. I mean, Cleveland didn't have a first-round pick a month ago, and true. Cleveland was still one of the highest-rated cities for watching the draft. So Columbus was up there as well.
That's true.
I mean, I really think this is going to be fascinating to see the way this city embraces the draft, even at a time where presumably the Browns won't be picking until later in the first round.
Well, and let's think about what the NFL draft is. You're taking college football, which I think this area loves.
Yeah.
This is a big Buckeye backyard,
Well, even Columbus is
Big
only
10.
2 hours down the
Absolutely.
road. Who knows which Ohio State players
sure.
could be going in that first round?
For sure. They got guys in the top 5 every year, it seems like. So you're going to have the meeting of college football fans, NFL fans. We're in Big Ten country.
Yeah.
If all of those are coming together, this could shape up to be one of the biggest draft hosting parties of all time, which is really neat to see. And again, it's why we're here today celebrating it, and it's why we're here excited for when it's here in 2 years. I can't believe it's 2 years from now. It feels like it's tomorrow.
That's what I was going to say, is this is kind of the last hurrah as far as, for an event so far down the line. We aren't going to be talking 2021 draft a week from now. But this is a nice little way to kind of tie a bow on all this. And, this was huge getting this bid. I mean, I know we've said it before, but they tried to get this now for a couple of years now, and some things fell apart as far as putting together a joint bid with Canton and the Hall of Fame. I know they've said that the Hall of Fame will play a role still in Cleveland hosting the draft.
You could do a pick down there.
Yeah.
You mentioned places you could do picks.
Yeah, I think the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton won't be entirely left out, but, I think when the NFL took the show on the road and moved the draft around and started taking it from city to city, Cleveland was always just a natural fit because of Northeast Ohio and Canton and the ties. But because they got passed over a few times, the fact that they got it here and they got it in 2021, I think it only makes it all the sweeter.
Yeah, I felt like this was the time it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But when I had heard the other two places that were mentioned, Kansas City and Denver, I said, oh boy, I hope we don't miss out again on this. And they obviously, the NFL made the right call in doing this. Big credit to Jimmy and Dee Haslam, who stayed on top of this to try and make sure this was coming here. They play a part in it, as well as Destination Cleveland and the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission. So to make it all happen is really cool. And I know we'll be starting shortly. People will be able to watch at home or at work, wherever they're watching us, with Jim Donovan starting the event.
Yeah.
And then John Dorsey, we're going to hear from him, Josh Cribbs, some Browns alums. It'll be a great time down
Ward,
here.
And we'll have you covered on WKYC.com and Facebook all throughout the afternoon. You can watch it on WKYC.com and Facebook Live. We will have written pieces of content. We'll have video. I know you're doing some pieces that are going to air on WKYC on Channel 3. What do you have coming up the pike?
Well, I think the interesting thing we're going to look at is just the fan reaction of it. Jimmy's going to handle the whole, just the fact that it's here, what it means to the city. But I think we know Browns fans.
Yeah.
They're such diehards. They're some of the best fans in the NFL, if not the best fans in the NFL. What does this mean to them? And what does it mean, especially because it may not have as much of an impact, whether you're not going to have a top 10 pick, we hope. If you have a top 10 pick, something went really, really wrong the last couple of years. So I'm interested to talk to diehard Browns fans of kind of what you hit on earlier. Is this as big a day? Is this as big of an event? Mm-hmm. And so to get the fan take on that will be cool. And again, we'll have that on Channel 3 News at 6.
Rough life going out to the bars and interviewing Browns fans.
Yeah, we love that. We love that. And Browns fans love their football. And to be here to have this celebration today, we know they're all over it. And this already looks like a great celebration. It's turned out to be a great day, and big credit to the Cleveland police who are here and everybody that's made this happen for the Browns, too.
Yeah, and they just asked people to take their seats, so we might be wrapping up here shortly. But, this is filled in. You look, I saw a Jarvis Landry jersey. I see a couple of Baker Mayfield jerseys,
just a
Baker Mayfield Color Rush jersey. That's the other thing coming off of 2020. The Browns will be wearing their new jerseys for the first time.
That's right. We're excited about that because we know what the first ones, what these last ones look like. I mean, the Browns have answered our question.
It seems like they're selling a little bit better, though, now that they have better players wearing them.
They are. I do think, though, because I was pretty critical of the uniforms when they first came out, but the Browns have backed anyone that was critical of them. The Browns have backed them up because they're changing them. So they admitted, hey, listen, maybe these didn't come out so well. And I think what they come up with this time will be exciting. I think Baker Mayfield got a sneak peek at him, and
they keep giving Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. sneak peeks on those.
I know, we got to get in on those emails.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big uniform guy, so I've got to take a peek there.
The Color Rush, you like those, right?
I do like the Color Rush. Yeah,
I would like some sort of. You like orange, right?
I do. I'm pretty disappointed they haven't gone all orange yet.
I think you could pull that off for the Color Rush, as long as it's not when you're playing the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
I think or Denver. If you can do it when you're playing another team with a totally different uniform, the all orange, we'd like that. Yeah. That would be good.
Just keeping an eye here. It looks like we're going to be starting up any minute.
2:58. We're 2 minutes away.
Public Square. So this thing's running on time. I was a little worried it might not.
I was too. I was making sure people would show up.
As a veteran of such events, not always the timeliest, but it looks like we will be getting started on time. And just looking at you and then looking over your head at Tower City, I mean, they've got to find a way to incorporate this area, I think, for the draft.
Oh, absolutely. The sight lines are great. They're going to start in a few minutes, they tell us. The sight lines are great, Ben.
Yeah.
You mentioned we were talking about where it could be. I think no matter where you end up hosting this thing, you're going to get great views. You incorporate the water, the rock hall, the stadium, the city skyline. You can do all that. You're going to hit a home run with this thing, and I think it's all about the optics. You want it to look good. Nashville looked great. Philly looked good. Chicago looked good near the Big Bean in Chicago. They did that. So if you can nail that, I think the rest is gravy.
Any concerns about the weather? That's the one thing I've heard is April.
I covered baseball for 12 years.
Yeah, it's going to be late April in
Cleveland.
Cleveland. It could be snow. It could be sun. It could be sleet.
Can I lie to you? Can I lie to you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about the weather at all.
Yeah.
But you know what? You never know. I mean, I will say this. I think the first day in Nashville, it rained on the first night. People had fun with it. They were going crazy. I think by the time people start eating and drinking and having a good time, we won't even care what the weather's like.
You know what? They've had it in Philly.
Yeah.
They've had it in Chicago.
Cold places.
If you can have it in Chicago, you can have it in Cleveland.
100%. We get their weather the next day.
Yeah.
So it's no doubt about it. I think we'll be all right.
I do too. And, I think even if it snows, it will be a very Cleveland NFL draft.
And we had an opening day snowed out, right?
Yeah.
So if we get the draft snowed out, that'll just add to it.
Well, now I'm seeing a Johnny Manziel jersey and a Joe Thomas jersey. So I think we can officially get this started here. Now that a Johnny Manziel jersey has shown up.
I think so too. They still make those, huh?
Yeah, well, it's a collector's item at this point.
This is
looks like a standing room only crowd. The seats filled up quickly, so lots of media here, lots of reporters. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing shakes out.
Let me ask you one thing. The buzz of the Browns.
Yeah.
Is there a part of you that almost worries? Freddie Kitchen said the other day, we got some great players, but do we have a great team? Is there any part of you that worries about too big, too much buzz? Can they handle it? Or do you say, listen, the time's now. The iron's hot. They're going to strike. I mean, where are you at on all that?
I think expectations are a good thing.
Okay.
I think this franchise actually kind of skated by for too long without any real expectations.
Probably.
And guys like Baker Mayfield, guys like Denzel Ward, guys like Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., they know winning. They came from winning college football programs. Winning is what they were used to. And I think it's good to get those expectations back into the Browns building, even if they are too high, even if they can't meet those Super Bowl expectations. I think it's good to have those in place. As this is what we're aiming for. We're not happy with 7-8-1.
I think you're right. I think it's a good point. I do think that Freddie Kitchens has made things pretty clear. Like, hey, listen, we know we got a lot of talent, but we got to make this work as a team. And I think expectations are a good thing. I think for too long, people blindly said, well, 1-15, we still love our Browns. 0-16, we still. Now there is some sort of expectation because of what John Dorsey and his guys have done. And a 7-game, 7-win improvement, that's nothing to laugh at.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And what can they do this year to take it to the next step? Because I don't know if we're saying, honestly, Super Bowl yet, but, man, you'd really like to see a 10-6 or get into the playoffs for sure.
I think this year's playoffs are bust.
Yeah.
I think they have to make that jump this year. I mean,
You'll be disappointed if they don't get in.
Oh, completely.
I agree.
I'd almost go as far as to say division, but just because the playoff drought has been as long as it is, I'm not going to complain about.
You wouldn't scoff at a wild card.
You know, if they
even
get in as a
9-7.
wild card, I'd rather them be hosting a game here in Cleveland, which really, I mean, let's look at the calendar after the MLB All-Star game. Obviously, the Browns season and all the highly anticipated games, but if Cleveland is hosting a wild card game or hosting a divisional game in early January, that's going to be pretty insane for the city.
It'll be a lot of fun. Haven't done that since the 80s, Ben, and to have that here, to have those events, to have those types of games, that camaraderie, that feel, that'll be a great thing. And I do think we are on the verge of what could be really special for the Browns. And this today is just a little slice of that, which is cool.
Yeah, and I think, that's something that this organization now seems a little better to handle, better prepared to handle. Going back to the expectations, though, and are they too big? I think it's been interesting, some of the stuff that's gone on with Greedy Williams and his comments, and Odell Beckham Jr. talking about wanting to be the next Patriots. But I think we'll get to that at another time. I think we're just about ready to wrap up. That is going to do it for us. We will take you now to the stage here at Rock the Draft. For Nick Camino, I am Ben Axelrod. Watch along on WKYC.com on Facebook Live. Thanks for watching.
And it's great to be with you here today. And what a day it is. The news today is great. The news that came out of Florida yesterday from the owners' meetings down in Key Biscayne, that we have arrived once again as the capital city of football in the United States, right here in Cleveland. I mean, you all know the language of the NFL draft. And so it kind of goes like this. With the first pick to host the 2021 NFL Draft, the National Football League selects Cleveland, Ohio. And as we all know, what a perfect fit that is it. They want history. They've got history here. This is where it's at. This is where it has begun. And this is where we are about to rewrite history in the National Football League with the resurgence of our beloved Cleveland Browns. I mean, as we count the days to the 2021 draft, I mean, we are still, before all of that happens, we are counting the days nervously, just in anticipation of what we're going to see out on the football field this year. Because, let it be known, it is happening, everybody. It is about to happen in a big, big time way. What happened at the end of last year with those great victories in Denver, in Cincinnati, down at the stadium, which was packed on December 23rd, that's just the start. We haven't got even started yet. We're about ready to roll here in Cleveland, and it will be one of the great comeback stories in American sports. So, why do they select Cleveland? Because we know how to do this. We know how to do this. We know how to handle big events. We know how to handle conventions. We know how to handle NBA championships. We know how to handle a big parade. And who knows, maybe even before the draft comes here in 2021, maybe there'll be a Super Bowl parade right here in downtown Cleveland. John Dorsey, no pressure. No pressure on that, okay? No pressure. This is an event that is huge and gets bigger and bigger each year. Nashville, great job that they did 4 weeks ago. I'm sure Las Vegas will do great things next year, but then after that, America will get a dose of what makes Cleveland and all of you so special, that when people come here from out of town or from points all across the country and the world for that matter, when you're talking about football, when people come here, they come here and they have a great time and they love it here and they leave here with a smile because of all of you and all of the hard work that goes into events like this. So the NFL draft in 2021 is in great hands here in Cleveland. Now, to the people that made it happen, and this is a full teamwork event, it had to come together. The city, the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, Destination Cleveland, and the Browns. They all had to work in conjunction to make this thing happen, and it worked flawlessly. So we begin with the mayor from the city of Cleveland, the Honorable Frank Jackson. Mayor Jackson.
Good afternoon, Cleveland. Good afternoon, Cleveland. Now, let me ask, how many football fans? How many Cleveland Brown fans? Well, you know, I want to congratulate all of you. Congratulate those football fans and those Cleveland Browns fans. Those fans who've been loyal and who've been working for a long time to see something like this happen. So congratulations to you. And I want to thank the NFL for choosing Cleveland for the 2021 draft, NFL draft. And thanks and congratulations to the team. As Mr. Donovan said, it takes a team to make this happen, from the city to the county, sports commission, the Browns, and many other people participated in making this happen. And it, all right, and that too. And you know, and also, as Mr. Donovan said, Cleveland is not a stranger to putting on major events, and we take pride in putting on those events and making them successful, not only for the event and the people who have brought the event here, but for the city of Cleveland and its people and for our economy. And this will be no different. Everything that we've done in Cleveland and we've been successful at, we've done as one community. And that's what this represents. Cleveland. Cleveland, one community. So again, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. And now, stepping to the podium, the Cuyahoga County Executive, Armin Budish.
Hello, everybody. So this is a great day, both for the city of Cleveland and the county. While the draft will be in downtown Cleveland, this is a tremendous benefit for the entire region. 250,000 fans or more will be using our hotels, our restaurants, our entertainment throughout the entire county. That is huge for us here. And the long-term benefit may be even more important. We have wonderful hospitality venues and entertainment attractions here. The draft gives us the chance to showcase how great this region really is. Those people who come and visit, when they return home, will talk about us and talk about how great their experiences were here in Cleveland. That's the long-term benefit. My team at the county has worked closely with the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, the Cleveland Browns, the City of Cleveland, and other key partners to help bring the NFL draft right here. And we'll all continue to work together to assist in the planning, the preparation, and the logistics. Just like with the RNC, our goal is to host a safe, secure, and a fun event. And we will make sure that happens. And by the way, let's hope that at this draft here in Cleveland in 2021, we pick last in the first round.
Thank you, Armin. This next gentleman has done an amazing job here in Cleveland. I mean, it takes a driving force to make things happen. And since he has arrived in Cleveland, the list of big-time events, whether it's sports or just civic events that have come here, topped off by the Republican National Convention, there was a time where we probably never thought that these kind of attractions would be choosing Cleveland when it came time to make the decision. But we've had a great pitch man in there doing the job for us, and he gets a lot of yeses. But I think he would tell all of us here today, he's got a great story to tell, but he's done it so well. So welcome right now from the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission and Destination Cleveland. Right now, here is David Gilbert.
Thanks. Boy, what a great day. And this crowd just hopefully already starts to show our friends at the NFL why they had the confidence to choose Cleveland. As has been mentioned, this was such a huge collaboration over 2 years to make this happen, starting first and foremost with the Browns. Dee and Jimmy Haslam are incredible civic citizens. J.W. Johnson, Dave Jenkins, the whole team there, along with the Sports Commission, the city, the county, the state, Destination Cleveland, and so many others who chipped in to make this work. I want to actually tee up a quick video because the state has been a big help with this, and the governor wanted to be here today, wasn't able to make it, but he did have a video message for everybody.
Well, our family is so very excited that the NFL Draft is coming to Cleveland in 2021. So appropriate. This is Ohio is the birthplace of professional football. We'll be celebrating next year the 100th year of professional football. And, of course, the Hall of Fame is in Canton. It's a great day to be a fan of professional football. Great day to be a Browns fan.
Thank you, Governor. We have a very special guest in the audience. I want to recognize our good friend from the NFL, Aubrey Walton, Director of Event Partnerships and Integration. But most importantly, of all that she does for the NFL and helping us, she's from Northeast Ohio, Aubrey. We are thrilled to have you here. You know, we really are at a very transformative time in Cleveland. The number of people visiting here is going up by the millions. Last year, 18.5 million people visiting for leisure and business travel. We're being discovered. We're being rediscovered. The perception of Cleveland nationally, regionally, and locally is back on an upswing. And attracting these kinds of events like the draft, most importantly, should make Clevelanders proud that we're a wonderful place and that we deserve to get this. And think about this, 2019 MLB All-Star Game, 2020 NCAA basketball, 2021, what we're here to celebrate today, NFL Draft, 2022 NBA All-Star Game, 2024 Women's Final Four. They all chose Cleveland, every one of them. And this city is on a huge roll, and when this city puts its mind to something, when we want to accomplish something, we absolutely can and do it. So what does the draft mean to Cleveland? Has been talked about. Hundreds of thousands of fans, both locally and from out of town. Well over $100 million and growing in direct new spending. Almost 50 million viewers last year from the draft in Nashville, from 50-plus countries. And the amazing thing is, we were talking about, it just keeps getting bigger. We have no idea where this event is going. If anyone who saw the draft on TV this year, it was one big constant commercial for the NFL and for Nashville, and that's what we can look forward to in Cleveland. Part of what I'm here to do is some big thank yous, certainly to the mayor, county executive, J.W. Johnson, Coach Dorsey, Denzel Ward, Josh Cribbs, and Jim Donovan helping with today. To the Sports Commission staff who worked their tails off for a long time, helping make sure this happened. To the Sports Commission board, Doug Neary, our chair. To our Velocity chairs, and those are the folks, Bob Klunk, Trina Evans, Fred DeSanto, John Scory, who are helping make sure we're raising the money that we can do all this stuff when it comes to Cleveland. Jeff Friedman from our board, Kevin Kelly from the city, Dan Brady from the county, such huge help. Valerie McCall from the city, Greg Harris from the Rock Hall, Joe Marinucci from Downtown Cleveland Alliance, and so many more. And the key is, as the mayor mentioned, this is one enormous community effort to get this and to pull it off, and everybody deserves credit to make it happen. So now we have 23 months to perform and to show the world that this city knows how to party. One thing I could tell you is we can't promise Aubrey yet that we're going to have the best draft, but one thing we promise Aubrey and everybody at the NFL, we will work harder than any other city who has put on a draft. That we can promise. So the last thing I'll say, which is fun to say, is we now can rock the clock.
Thank you, David. And again, great job. Now let's hear from the Browns, okay? And I introduce to you right now the Executive Vice President from the Cleveland Browns, J.W. Johnson.
How we doing? Come on, you're better than that. How we doing? Yeah. We're all really excited when to get this out. Who? All right. Well, listen, I obviously want to thank everybody. David and the Sports Commission, outstanding job. Without your leadership, we wouldn't be here today. Mayor Jackson, the city, can't wait to show it off to the world and the rest of the NFL. Executive Budish, Governor DeWine, the NFL, and obviously to the best fans in sports. Also want to have a big shout out to the entire Browns organization. A big thank you to my great friend, our COO, Dave Jenkins. So great job, pal. The Browns organization, we always live and talk about by three pillars, and that's to win consistently, which John and Denzel and the rest of the guys are working hard every day. We want to give the best fan experience we can on and off the field, and we want to give back to the community. And I think the NFL draft encompasses all those things. If you talk about wins, we talk about Cleveland, All-Star Game, NBA draft, Women's Final Four, NFL draft. Those are huge wins for this great city. We talk about the fans. We know everybody here is going to rally around, do what they can, give back, and show that the NFL, this is the best draft city that they've ever had, period, right? Also, again, same thing to the community. We're all going to do our part. We still got a lot of work to do, fundraising, community effort, et cetera. We're all going to do that, and again, we're excited. As the process went through, Dee and Jimmy and myself and the rest of the family, and we started seeing that the draft was rotating from city to city, we felt that it was clear that this city get recognized and that the NFL also recognized that this fan base and how passionate it is and how important football is to Cleveland and Northeast Ohio, that we were able to get awarded this draft. And a lot of hard work went into it. We still have a lot to go, but it's incredible. I think it also helped that the Browns are going to be celebrating our 75th anniversary in 2021. Can't think of a better way to kick off that anniversary with the draft. And as other people said, maybe we'll have a parade before that. Again, really excited, fired up for everybody here, this great city, this great state, this the fans. We have a lot of work to do, but I know we're going to rally together to put the best draft on we can possibly have, and really excited, and thank you, and go Browns.
Okay, more from the Browns right now, and I'll have two gentlemen join me in the middle of the stage here, and you'll get to meet them, and you'll also get to hear their thoughts on not only the draft, but what's going on out in Berea as the Browns are right now involved in getting ready for this season coming up. So, a guy that's just done an amazing job of taking this roster and flipping it upside down and just making it from top to bottom a winning roster, and it's just infectious. People want to come here. They want to play here. They want to play for all of you. The general manager of the Cleveland Browns, John Dorsey. One of the products of John's great work in scouting and drafting, along with his great front office staff and all of the scouting staff, and a true Cleveland Brown. A true Cleveland Brown. Follow the lineage from Nordonia High School to The Ohio State University, and now to the Cleveland Browns, to add the great title after his rookie year, All-Pro cornerback Denzel Ward. Welcome, 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 welcome. John, since you've been here, anytime that you address any group or a media group or just talk in general, you always say, man, this is the Cleveland Browns. This is not a job. This is, I'm working for the Cleveland Browns and for these fans. And I know it resonates right to the heart with you, doesn't it?
No, it really does. I mean, if you really think about it, these gentlemen back here deserve a lot of credit for bringing such a great event to this great town. You know, people tend to forget. You know what a birthplace of professional football was? Right here in the state of Ohio. There were five of those teams were from the state of Ohio, and there were 13 original franchises, and they were right here. And I think it was Akron, Canton, it was Cleveland, it was Columbus, and I think it was Dayton. So you know what? Now, all of a sudden, these guys have done all this hard work. Guess what? Now Cleveland has a chance to show the world in 2021 what we're all about.
Absolutely. So, 13 months ago, time flies. 13 months ago, John stepped to the telephone and made the telephone call to Denzel Ward to become a member of the Cleveland Browns. And what was that like? I mean, to be selected 4th overall in the draft, but to be selected by your hometown team.
Yeah, it was just an amazing moment. I appreciate John Dorsey and the Haslams for believing in my game and taking me 4th overall. But it was just a great experience. I'm glad that my family got to come out and enjoy that process with me. And it's just exciting. I'm glad it's here in Cleveland for all the other fans that come out and enjoy.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you what, it is so good to have you here. How about his first game in the regular season? Down at the stadium, playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he intercepts Ben Roethlisberger not once, but twice. How about that? Now, that is quite an opening act, I'll tell you. What is it like to wear that orange helmet and to play in that stadium and to play for these fans?
Man, I love every moment of it. It's a blessing. Like you said, I'm from here. I'm from Cleveland. I went to Nordonia High School, and then going to Ohio State, and then to get drafted by my hometown team and play in front of the Cleveland fans. I feel like I'm playing in front of family. So I love every moment.
You're playing in front of family.
Yeah. So I love every moment of it.
John, one of the great moments, and we capture it so well during the draft, is when you pick up that telephone and you call the next guy that you're going to draft. And you always say to them, hey, fill in the name of the player. Hey, you ready to become a Cleveland Brown? That's got to be a great part of your job.
No, it really is, because, I mean, you really think about it. I'm not sure when you started football, but there's many people that started football 8, 9, 10 years old. And now all of a sudden they think they've got to their dream, but really it's the start of that dream. And it was just quite an honor for me to call Denzel and talk to his mother, Nicole, on the phone as well. And I thought that was, I mean, really, it's a special moment, I know, in their life and their family. And you know what? You've raised a great kid. He is an awesome kid.
You have done a great job. Yeah, you have done a great job. Absolutely. So I have to ask you about this year. I mean, it's exciting. I'm sure everywhere you go, people are excited and coming up to you and saying, I can't wait to see number 21 out there on the corner for the Browns defense and playing down at First Energy Stadium. So what do you think? What's it going to be like this year?
Man, it's going to be exciting. We got a lot of the fans, like you said, there's a lot of hype around the organization right now. So really just trying to stay focused on every day and then go out and show ourselves once the season comes.
So we watched you every Friday night at Nordonia in high school, every Saturday afternoon at Ohio State as a great Buckeye, and now every Sunday. It's a real honor and a joy to watch you play. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
John, what about it? What about this year? Everybody, you're the talk of the town. You're the talk of the NFL. Everybody's talking Cleveland Browns.
Want my words?
I want you. I got you.
Don't believe the hype. Okay? It all starts in training camp, and you know that, and I know that. You know what? Those guys got to come together in training camp, and they'll form their identity there. Because what will happen is those guys, those veterans, will set those goals and those expectations high, and they'll drive those young guys to get up and reach those goals as well. But what will happen is at the end of training camp, they should have like-minded, single objective goals. Because as we all well know, somewhere in the fall, you're going to meet a moment of adversity. And guess what? If you're strong and you have one belief and one single goal, you'll be able to fight through those adverse moments. And this group will do that. It's a really good group.
Thank you, John. As you always say, man, this is the Cleveland Browns, and we are ready to go. Denzel Rice joining us, and Denzel Ward joining us, and John Dorsey, the Browns general manager. Good luck, Denzel. Have a great year. Have a great season.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Before we get to our last speaker here this afternoon, let me just say this, that for the members of the media, we are going to have a question and answer period for you with the dignitaries and our speakers up here on stage with me immediately following, and you'll be able to talk to the people that you need to talk to. And right now, we're going to talk to one of my all-time favorite Browns. I mean, all-time favorite Browns. I mean, when this guy came on the field, he emptied the tank for us every time he went out there. He played to his fullest, and there were times that single-handedly he won games. I remember a bitterly cold Thursday night down at the stadium against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he knocked the Steelers out of the playoffs single-handedly with an amazing performance. The draft was different for this young man because he came out of Kent State. He was undrafted. He took the long route. He tried out. He had to show the coaches that he belonged, and he did it. And boy, did he belong. One of the all-time great return men in the history of the NFL. And to me, he will always be the great Cribbs. Josh Cribbs. Welcome, Josh.
Like Jim said, you know, taking the hard road to where I am today, I think sets a standard of what Cleveland represents. You know, for me to be able to see the city workers, the construction workers, the police officers led by Calvin Williams, who I seen in the background, keeping us safe, to the nurses, everybody who I see in Cleveland who always tells me, hey, next year is our year, we're going to win. This is that year. This year. You all deserve it. All the years that you stayed loyal to this team, not winning, but staying loyal, filling the stands in 30-degree weather, freezing weather. You deserve it, Cleveland. You deserve it. And listen, it starts at the top for this team. From D and Jimmy Haslam to JW to John Dorsey to the players, it starts at the top and it's going to end with a championship. And I know you won't rest as loyal fans until we bring a championship home, and that's their job, and they're going to get it done. I know that as fans, I'm a fan now. I've been a fan as a player, but I see through your eyes. And that's what John Dorsey says when he says, hey, don't believe the hype. Because on paper, we look great. We are winners. But they still have to go out there and get the job done. And they will. So we're going to rock the clock for the 2021 NFL Draft. And before I leave, I need to hear it. I want you guys to be loud. I want to hear it. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Thank you guys for believing in the Browns. Thank you. Thank you.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're going to rock around